Good morning, everyone. Assalamu alaikum to all of you. This is lecture number 13, and it's about merits of Shakespeare's plays according to Dr. Johnson. Remember, we are studying now preface to Shakespeare. In lecture number 12, I gave you information about his life and age and about his works. And now the work which we have to study is Preface to Shakespeare, in which he talks about he talks about Shakespeare's merits and demerits. He talks about Shakespeare's merits and demerits of Shakespeare's plays. So in this particular lecture, I will tell you about the merits of Shakespeare according to Dr. Johnson. So let's start. Merits of Shakespeare's plays according to Dr. Johnson. Remember, Dr. Johnson starts his preface with the praise of antiquity by saying that there are some people who believe that the praise that is showered on dead authors is without any reasons. Sometimes they hope that by saying such heretical or paradoxical things, they would gain eminence or popularity for themselves. Or in other cases, it may be because they themselves have not been honored by the present generation according to their expectations. So Dr. Johnson says that one must not deny that antiquity has its own charms. Means the work of past has its own beauty. However, there is no need to admire everything simply because it belongs to the past. It is a very good point to remember. वो कहता है कि हर उस चीज़ को तारीफ करने की हमें ज़रूरत नहीं है जो पास्ट से बिलोंग करती है. So everything we should not admire, or there is no need to admire everything simply because it belongs to the past. Dr. Johnson also says it is wrong to ignore the present and praise the past. It is a very good point to think about. क्यों कहता है कि आप present को ignore कर रहे हैं और past को praise कर रहे हैं. This is something wrong. Or to deny to a writer the credit that he deserves as long as he's alive. And when he is dead, to praise him quite beyond his merits. There you will find some instances or examples in which you will find that the writers who are alive, they are not given such respect which they deserve. But when they are dead, so they are showered praise or quite beyond their merits. So this is again, Dr. Johnson says, not right, it's wrong. यानी जब राइटर जिंदा है उसकी आप वो इज्जत नहीं करें जिसका मुस्तहिक है, और जब वो मर जाता है तो उसके बाद आप उसको इतनी तारीफ करते हैं, इतनी तारीफ उसकी करते हैं कि जिसकी कोई हद नहीं है. So this is according to Johnson is wrong attitude. Then he analyzes both merits and demerits of Shakespeare's plays. So first we will discuss merits, and in the next session we will talk about demerits of Shakespeare's plays. So what he says about merits, let's talk about. Shakespeare says that Dr. Johnson says that Shakespeare, he praises Shakespeare for his faithful depiction of human nature. Faithful depiction of human nature. He praises Shakespeare for this particular thing, and this is the beauty of Shakespeare. His native colors and lively characters. The works of Shakespeare, according to Johnson, by now possess sufficient antiquity and have won enough respect and veneration to be regarded as classics. According to Johnson, he has been judged by time and been found to be great. The appeal of whatever was local or temporary in his work has long ceased or stopped to say the judgment of readers. Johnson says if he has been recognized and respected beyond the century in which he lived, it is because of the inherent value of his work and not because of any ephemeral consideration relating to his period. His works have passed through many variations of taste and changes of manner. but their interest and their appeal have not diminished or decreased or declined with the passage or passing of time. According to Johnson, a great work of literature must contain a faithful and just representation of life, and it must have a universal appeal. And this is something that can be found in Shakespeare's plays, in Shakespeare's works. Dr. Johnson says that he holds up to his readers a faithful mirror of manners and of life. Shakespeare is a classic because he is above all a poet of nature. He is above all a poet of nature. He holds up to his readers a faithful mirror of life and of manners. If we talk about his characters, so we can find that his characters are independent of of time and place. They are true to all generations. They are true to all uh, ages. They are true to all ages, and that is why after more than 500 years have passed, we still people still love watching Shakespeare's plays because they have universal appeal. Shakespeare holds up to his readers a faithful mirror of life and of manners. His characters are independent of time and place. There is no boundary for his characters, but they may be described as a genuine progeny of common humanity. Genuine progeny of common humanity. His characters, means the plays, in Shakespeare's plays, the characters are not to be identified by any local customs unknown to the rest of the world or by peculiarities understood by a small number of readers. Means when you watch his plays, जब आप उसके ड्रामा और जो plays उनको देखेंगे तो you will find characters which are ordinary characters, which are ordinary people, which are not related to any specific community or which are not related to any peculiar uh, races. You will find them around you. His characters are the authentic product of the humanity. So such characters you can find around you. Such characters you find all over the world. So in other words, we can say that Shakespeare's characters have a universal appeal. They act and speak by the influence of those general passions and principles which are experienced by all mankind. A character that has been portrayed or that was portrayed by Shakespeare is not generally an individual, but a species. We find different sort of characters. Shakespeare's plays have survived also because they contain axioms which may be or which may apply or may be applied to the business of living. One may compile a complete system of ethics and a practical life out of the plays of Shakespeare. Of course, his plots are powerful in their movement and his dialogues are clear and lifelike. Then comes realistic dialogue. Dialogues are very powerful. So his dialogues are completely realistic. If we talk about his dialogues, we can find that they are completely realistic. These dialogues are based on the actual conversation of people. This is the beauty of Shakespeare's plays that these dialogues are based on actual conversation of people. If there are characters like servants, so they will speak in their own language. If there are characters like kings, so they will speak in their own language. Ministers will use their own vocabulary in their own language, and this is where Shakespeare has surpassed all other dramatists and he has surpassed all other writers. Hello? Hello? So the dialogue. So the dialogue in his plays are based on the actual conversation of people. The theater mostly offers the characters whom we have never seen in real life, or and who converse in a language which is never heard in the daily business of our life, and who talk about the subjects which never arise day to day life. What we see in our everyday life, what we see in our movies, in our literature, in current literature. Remember, movies are the modern form of drama. मूवीज़ जो हैं ये मॉडर्न फॉर्म है ड्रामा की. आजकल की मूवीज़ में, आजकल के ड्रामाज हमें क्या मिलता है? हम जो चीज़ें देख रहे होते हैं उनमें अक्सरियत का ताल्लुक उनसे होता है जिनका रोज़मर्रा की चीज़ों से ताल्लुक ही नहीं होता. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, यू विल फाइंड द theme of love dominant in movies. You will find heroes and heroines. They are super humans like characters. You will find them, they fight like trained fighters, like commandos. Being an ordinary person, they fight like commandos. They have extraordinary luck and many other things which are with them. So this is what we see, and then their dialogues and other things all are extraordinary. So these things we do not have in real life. Life is unpredictable, but when we watch movies and dramas, we see things there predictable. We can easily predict what can happen to the character, what can happen to them. But when we see or when we watch Shakespeare's plays, so we can find the dialogue in Shakespeare's plays are often determined by the incident which produces the dialogues. If the dialogues are determined, often determined by the incident which produces them. His dialogue is pursued with much ease and simplicity, and it seems to have been taken from the common conversation of human beings. When you listen to them, so you'll feel as if they have been taken from the common conversation of human beings. Then comes, after dialogues, comes this aspect which is very important. Now, our emphasis on the theme of love. In modern plays, you will find the theme of love has been overemphasized. It seems or it shows that there is only one feeling that is love. There is only one business that is love in the world, in life. There is no other thing in life. When we watch present dramas or movies, so we find that there is only one business in life, and that is love. Love ही सब कुछ है और कुछ नहीं है. So there's nothing like this. In real life, we have many other things. In real life, we have to we have to fight against poverty. We have to fight against injustice. We have to fight against many other things. But love is one of them. It is not necessary that we all fall in love. Many of us have arranged marriages, and after arranged marriages, we live a very good life, very uh, you know happy life. So many dramatists make love their chief or only theme. They give an excessive importance or significance to the theme of love in their plays. A play will be around or will center around a lover, a lady, and a rival, and the entanglement in their mutual relations. This is what we have in modern plays. Now there are many other passions, according to Johnson, there are many other passions which move the human mind as strongly as a passion of love. There are many other themes, there are many other passions which move the human mind as strongly as the passion of love. But Shakespeare's scenes are not confined to love alone. His plays mirror life faithfully. When we watch his plays, so we find that it is something that shows life very faithfully. It provides a just and accurate picture of the manners of the age in which he lived. He has conveyed his sentiments in a language familiar to all men. It's not like that we need to understand from someone else uh, about his language. So it is the language which is familiar to all men. Even hermit who does not have any contact or much contact with the actual world may be able to know the ways of the world by reading the plays of Shakespeare. So there is not much emphasis on the theme of love in Shakespeare's plays, and this is what we have in real life. In real life, we don't have all the time love. We have many other passions beside love, and sometimes other passions are stronger than love. And if we talk about love, so there are different types of love: love between children and parents, love between mother and son or daughter, love between brothers, love between sisters. So in modern plays, you'll find love only between a couple, and this is something you'll find a lot in modern plays, and that's why you'll find a lot of vulgarity, you'll find a lot of glamour, and unfortunately, these things are done to earn more and more money. Then you'll find mingling of tragic and comic elements. In Shakespeare's plays, you'll find that he mixed tragic and comic element both together, and this is what where he has violated the rule of ancient plays. In ancient plays, you will find either tragedy or comedy. एंशंट जो प्लेज उनमें या तो आपको ट्रेजेडी मिलेगी, टोटली ट्रेजेडी, या तो आपको टोटल कॉमेडी मिलेगी. बट हियर ही हैज़ violated the rules and he has brought both these things together, and this is what we can find in real life. Real life is the amalgamation or mixture of both these things. It's not like this that we are always happy or we are always sad. ऐसा नहीं कि हम ज़िंदगी में हमेशा खुश ही रहते हैं या हमेशा हम गमगीन रहते हैं. ऐसा भी नहीं है कि कोई अगर बादशाह है तो हमेशा खुश ही रहेगा, उसके पास वो गम नहीं है. इसी तरह से नहीं कि कोई अगर फ़कीर है तो वो जो है हर वक्त गमगीन ही रहेगा रहता है, उसके पास खुशी नहीं है. सो प्लेजर एंड सोरो, they both are the part and parcel of our life. Joy and sorrow, they both are the part and parcel of our life. They both live under one roof, and they both are connected to each other. They both are very important elements of our life or everyone's life. So Shakespeare's plays are a blend of the tragic and the comic, and this is something that has made them represent life much more convincingly. So this is how he has shown life very convincingly, and his plays have become very popular. So Shakespeare's plays depict real human nature, which which partakes of good and evil, joy and sorrow, mingled in various degrees and endless combinations. Remember, Dr. Johnson defends Shakespeare in this regard by saying that Shakespeare's plays are neither purely comic and nor purely tragic. His plays are neither purely comic and nor purely tragic. They are a blend of the tragic and the comic, and this makes life them represent life much more convincingly. His plays depict real human nature, which partakes in which we have good and evil, joy and sorrow both, and they all live under one roof, means mingled in various degrees and endless combinations. Shakespeare's plays show the course of the world, in which the loss of one man is the gain of another, in which the reveler is hurrying to his wine and the mourner to a funeral, in which the malice of one is sometimes exceeded by the gaiety of another, in which many good and bad actions are done and prevented without design. So you can see in real life what is happening. ये जो भी कोरोना का की वेव आई थी और अभी भी है, तो इससे कई लोग, अक्सर लोगों को नुकसान हुआ, कारोबार में नुकसान हुआ, और जॉब्स वालों को भी नुकसान हुआ, और बहुत से लोग मसाइल हुए, और कई लोगों को इससे फ़ायदा हुआ। जो ऑनलाइन वाले थे, कंप्यूटर मार्केट थी, मोबाइल वाले थे, इन लोगों को बड़ा फ़ायदा हुआ। उन लोगों की चीज़ें ज़्यादा सेल आउट हुई और लोगों को बहुत कारोबार चला। लेकिन इसके बरक्स एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट्स हो गए, और इसके अलावा कारखाने हो गए, फैक्ट्रीज़ हो गई, और भी बहुत सारा कारोबार है, मॉल्स वगैरह हो गए, दे फेस ग्रेट, यू कैन से, लॉस। वाई? बिकॉज दे हैड क्लोजर्स, उनको क्लोज करना पड़ा, देयर एक्सपोर्ट was stopped, उनकी एक्सपोर्ट थी वो रुक गई, एंड दे हैड मेनी अदर इश्यूज। टीचर्स को बहुत ज़्यादा नुकसान हुआ, स्कूल टीचर्स को तो बहुत ही नुकसान हुआ, राइट? तो किसी का फ़ायदा तो किसी का नुकसान, यही है ज़िंदगी, यही है लाइफ, दैट यू कैन सी इन शेक्सपियर्स प्लेज। तो शेक्सपियर के प्लेज में आपको ऐसा नहीं मिलेगा कि कोई एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डिनरी बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया और कोई बिल्कुल ही गिर गया। यू विल फाइंड मिडल पाथ, एंड दिस इज़ व्हाट वी हैव इन रियल लाइफ। रियल लाइफ में ये भी ऐसे होता है कि कोई भाग रहा है भाई अपने दुनियावी चक्कर के लिए, और कहीं जनाजा जा रहा है, कहीं किसी को दफनाया जा रहा है, तो कोई खेल कूद में मसरूफ़ है, ठीक है। कहीं कोई जो है दर्द से चिल्ला रहा है, तो कहीं कोई खुशी से चिल्ला रहा है। तो हिज प्लेस डिपिक्ट रियल ह्यूमन नेचर, which has good and bad, both joy and sorrow both. The mixing of the genre has exposed Shakespeare to the censor of the learned critics. So it is objected that the ancient rules of drama, तो ये शेक्सपियर पर ऑब्जेक्शन लगाई गई कि ancient rules of drama do not allow a mixture of tragedy and comedy. As I told you कि ancient rules of drama जो है उसमें tragedy और comedy दोनों को mix नहीं किया गया था, so it was against their rules. Tragedy and comedy were so different among the Greeks and the Romans that not a single writer in these two nations wrote both tragedies and comedies together. So in Shakespeare's plays, we have laughter and tears evoked by the same play. एक ही play को आप देखेंगे तो आप हंसेंगे भी और रोएंगे भी. They have serious characters as well as ludicrous characters. Ludicrous characters means funny characters. It does not matter. For example, if you read the play of King Lear, you will find the character of fool there, for laughter, for providing mirth or comic element. But that fool is not fool in reality. There's a there's a, you can say, very famous sentence that shows that he's not a fool in reality. There's a method in his madness. It does not matter that Shakespeare practices contrary to the rules of criticism, or for because rules are not finally binding. We can appeal from them to nature. We all know it very well that literature is to be tested in terms of function, and mingled dramas performs other twofold function of literature, means of providing pleasure and instruction. The purpose of drama is to provide pleasure, is to instruct with pleasure. If it does not instruct with pleasure, it means it is not a drama at all. It's not achieving its aim properly. Mingled dramas are true to life. It provides greater delight than pure drama because it contains variety, which is the source of all pleasure. According to Johnson, it is quite baseless and useless to say that the alternation or change of tragic and comic scenes interrupts the pleasure of the spectator, or it conceals or it cancels other passions which have been aroused by the previous scene. Remember, Shakespeare's mood is the same in all three categories of his plays: histories, comedies, and tragedies. These are the categories which these are the three plays which we can find in Shakespeare's plays. Shakespeare introduces an interchange between seriousness and merriment. In each case, Shakespeare is successful in creating the intended effect. Whatever effect he wanted to create, he succeeded, or he's achieved the success in creating that effect. That is why once we understand this, most of the once we understand this, so most of the objections that we have or that have been leveled against Shakespeare's tragedies disappear. Most of the objections disappear. According to Johnson, comedy was more congenial to Shakespeare's genius than tragedy. Therefore, he believes that he always introduced scenes of mirth or joy in his or comic in his most tragic plays. We also we must also take into consideration that the fact that Shakespeare did not have any models of pure drama before him. He wrote his plays in accordance with his natural disposition. So this is again a very important thing to remember कि शेक्सपियर के ने किसी को फॉलो नहीं किया, ना ही उसके पास कोई ऐसा मॉडल था जिसको फॉलो करता. So his you can say pattern or method was what he observed human nature, he observed people's emotions and sentiments, and then he produced his plays. And that is why it is also said that he was a great psychologist as well in this regard, that he understood human psychology. And according to their psychology, he produced plays, he produces works. So he wrote his plays in according to his natural disposition. Reimer correctly tells that Shakespeare's natural disposition lay in the direction of comedy. He was more suitable to comedy. And when he started writing tragedies, or when he wrote tragedies, he had to work extremely hard, very hard. Because according to that critic, when we watch his tragic scenes, so we find there is always something wanting. There is always something that needs our attention. But his comic scenes often surpass our expectations. They are beyond our expectations. His comic scenes or comedy gives us pleasure by the thoughts and the language. His tragedy gives pleasure chiefly by incidents and action. His tragedy seems to be the result of his skill, and his comedy is the product of his instinct. The force of his scenes has the force of his comic scenes has suffered very little on account of the changes in manners or in language brought about by time. His language in the comedies shows him to be a great master of language, because the language is neither gross nor over refined, but midway between the two. The characters are moved by passions which have a universal and timeless validity. So this is what we have about Shakespeare's. This is what Dr. Johnson. This is how Dr. Johnson talked about Shakespeare's merits. This is how he talks about the qualities of Shakespeare's plays. So remember, Dr. Johnson talks about Shakespeare's faithful depiction of human nature. He talks about his lively characters, because Shakespeare was a master of characterization. He had great expertise and abilities in drawing characters from different walks of life, and he was a master of characterization for this reason. His dialogues were real, lifelike dialogues. When we read his dialogues, so we feel as if they are true to life. You will not find the theme of love over overemphasized in his plays. In his plays, you will find different sort of stories. As we can see in modern plays, that the theme of love has been given extraordinary uh, place. So this is something you will not find with Shakespeare. With Shakespeare, you will find things which are related to everyday life. Then you'll find mixing or mingling of tragic and comic both elements, and this is something that you'll not find with with ancient and Romans. They did not have both the things together in one play. They either had tragedy or comedy, but it was Shakespeare who initiated such plays in which seriousness and comic comedy both are together. So when you watch such plays, you will find that they have great impact upon their audience or upon their spectators, because as I told you, in real life we experience both the things together. In real life we experience both the things together. We are neither happy all the time, nor are we sad all the time. So sometimes we are happy, sometimes we are sad. Even when we are very sad or extremely sad, we have some moments for joy, and when we are extremely happy, we may have some moments for sorrow. So this is what you will find Shakespeare has introduced in his plays. So mingling of tragic and comic elements. So this is what Dr. Johnson has discussed about Shakespeare's merits. In the next session, inshallah, I will tell you about Shakespeare's. I will tell you what Johnson talks about Shakespeare's demerits. And these are the things which prove, according to Dr. Johnson, that Shakespeare was a universal, genius. He was a great genius, and his plays had universal appeal. Remember, it is also said that Shakespeare dramas are the mirror of life. His characters express human sentiments and human language in situations delivered from real life. So, by reading his scenes, a person who does not know the world can form a very fair idea of what the world is like. As I told you, that the characterization in the plays of other dramatists is often extravagant and exaggerated, so that the reader cannot form correct ideas of human nature. However, Shakespeare is different. He has no heroes. He does not depict people of either fabulous excellence or unexampled depravity. The speaker in his plays are men who act and speak as the reader thinks that he would himself have spoken or acted on a particular occasion. And that is why it is said that Shakespeare dramas are the mirror of life. So, with this, I conclude today's session. Uh, if you have any questions, you can ask me. Thank you very much.